All right, welcome back, guys. Today what we're going to do is look at all the M.Bisons from a standpoint of RTA and how they might have an impact once we're allowed to play with them. So let's go and take a look. The biggest limitation to these units is their base speed, 98 across the board, which is super, super slow. To counteract something that slow, you better have a really impactful kit or way to affect the match, sort of like Bastet. Super slow, 99. But clearly affects the match massively, right? So here's the Fire M.Bison. Skill 1, attack provoke, 50, 60, what, 80%? Yeah, 80% provoke, okay. 3 times absorbing the attack bar, so you could have a 60% bar after this attack, and he heals himself up. Max HP, not good in RTA, because your max HP is constantly going down throughout the match. So nothing too impactful on skill 2, reasonable in 3 turns. You know, the absorb is good, the recover is pretty good and self-sustained, but I'm not sure that that's enough. All right, skill 3. Attack 3 times, so 3 times, 3 times. So I mean, better chance to land, but I mean, you're not going to use them like a Necro or anything, so all right. Dashes towards the enemy to attack 3 times, damage proportional to your max HP. Again, not great. Decrease their attack bar by 30%, so it's a minus 90 for them if it all hits, and their speed goes down and stuns. So, a slow, take their bar, and a stun. Pretty good. Not good enough, I would say. I don't see him being impactful at all in RTA with the HP base damage. So, good leader skill though, but yeah, I don't see it. Alright, water. Same thing, the provoke. This is another provoke. Max HP again. Provoke and decrease attack power, but max HP. This is a destroy. If all allies are attacked by the target with destroyed HP, the incoming damage will be decreased. So it's like kind of like a shield in that you hit their AoE monster that you want to reduce the damage from. Interesting. I don't know the exact proportion, but the fact that it is destroyed based on max HP, the only way I could see this being useful is against some sort of like cleave, and you want to reduce the damage of a fire monster or possibly a water monster. So like a Julie you could punch her, or I mean like a Raki maybe. But he's so slow that those teams all rely on going first. So I don't know. I don't see it. So I would call him non-impactful as well. There's the accuracy skill. Wind. Provoke. Provoke attacks power down. Again, max HP. Head press. Attacks with a downward attack. Not upward, downward. Very important. Attacks all enemies with another downward attack, so 2 of them, to decrease their attack bar to 0. So an AoE attack bar, 0. But with a strip, right? A single target strip and an AoE attack bar down. I don't think so. I don't think it's good enough. It's a single target strip with a full attack bar reduction on the target you choose, but it's got 2 accuracy checks. If they have no will, the whole thing will go off, but there's so many things that do a better job of going off if they have no will. There's Rika, there's Belinus, there's so many things. So I don't see him being impactful in RTA and a defense league. So I kind of think when you have 3 units that are not going to be impactful in RTA, that's just not their design, right? It's not like they're broken, you know, like they need a big buff or anything. They're just not RTA units. I mean, those provokes and HP-based skills, I mean, they'll find a good place in some guild content, right? That's kind of where those things shine, because HP stays good forever. All right, light is interesting. We've got a fat resist lead. Provoke. This is the absorb the attack bar, recovers HP. Again, max HP. This is the one that's interesting / weird. Absorbs the HP of all allies by 50%. So you're hurting yourself by a lot. 50% for everybody. Then, everybody's attack bar goes up 40%. You get an attack power buff and an attack speed buff. So he's a booster, and he gives attack power, attack speed. So there's some cleaves that want these 2 things like massively. So things that scale off of speed and attack. So Poseidon, Amduat, I've run a cleave like that before. Those things need these 2 buffs. And there's not a ton of great ways to get them, and there's, as far as I can remember, there's not one that boosts everybody like this. There's things like Kali, right, does those two. There's the Wind Barbarian. One of the Emesity type monsters does something like that. But I don't think anybody does this, which is really interesting. The fact that it's got a 40% boost, to me, means he will run with those types of teams if they're ever viable. There's a lot of ways to respond to those types of things, but he fits in nicely. Now, the HP down is kind of sad because it's a lot. So the developers know that this is a ridiculous skill, and so they made a big no-no attached to it. In my mind, the only use for this would be those artifacts that are like speed increased by X percentage of HP lost, right? Because you can calculate exactly the effect of those artifacts turn 1. So let's say you built a monster tuned to this thing, right? It's 40% slower. If you have an artifact that for some reason has 20% speed based on lost HP, you know it's plus 10 speed as soon as the skill goes off. So you can speed tune it even slower. You can do that with attack. You can do it with defense. So that's kind of neat, but you better get it done turn 1, because this is a turn 1 monster all in like crazy. You don't even care about taking damage. And the meta is so anti-turn 1 right now that it seems like a bit of an issue to try to utilize him in that way. But if I had one, I would absolutely try to build that team because it's cool, you know? 50% nuke to your own team, not as good, but 40% bar is a ton. His base speed is also a problem because you'd have to build him insanely fast to overcome his base speed. And then how are you going to overcome your opponents being just faster? You know, you have to run the Wind Beretta, the Sylph, whatever his name is, for your speed lead, and does the same type of speed-based damage. But yeah, that seems like a challenge. All right, Dark One. We've got crit rates lead, not great. We've got the Provoke. We've got the Provoke based on max HP, and then skill 3, your attack bar will be filled up, and HP will be recovered by 20% if you get attacked during the turn of the provoked enemy. Okay, so it's like if Fenyang could make you attack it, but minus the way he does damage and the way he kills you, like the defense break and stuff like that. It's interesting. I don't know that I see it as good enough. His base HP is nuts. And again, the fact that it's based on HP, the passive, I mean, you have 2 skills. You have this one, which is not based on HP. You have this one, which is based on HP, and you're just, everything provokes. So, hard to kill, but I think the main issue there is he's only provoking 1 at a time, so you can assume that in general, he's going to land those provokes. He's going to be moving at 20% faster speed than normal, and he's going to be recovering pretty good. You've got 3 other monsters, so just use them. Like, no one's using Amen, right? Amen does a very reliable provoke. More reliable than this? I'm not sure. But a very reliable provoke, and a heal. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't have the base stats of this, but this feels kind of like an LD Amen. Kind of. So, maybe I'm wrong there, but with the way that HP is going to decrease and how he doesn't really impact much else, like, Will completely shuts this guy down. 100% completely. So he's a dead pick into Will. People pick Will. So, yeah. So that's the thought there. All right, so those are the M.BISONs reviewed for RTA. In general, no, I don't think so. I don't think they'll show up unless they get some sort of significant buff. But it's worth looking at and thinking about because you never know. But they are new units. So yeah, that is it. If you guys feel differently or you have any thoughts about how they might creep into the meta somehow, let me know, and I will catch you in the next video. Take care, everybody.